planned on doing the bar, the concept full organic, and we had got there like right before COVID hit. And reason being is I had a friend that had got cancer, and he was teaching me about like the power of like vegetables and what they do for your body. And then I started researching that alcohol promotes cancer cell growth. And so I was like, man, I not counter what alcohol does, but try to like somewhat make it healthy. But as we all know, like organic costs a lot more, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're not full organic anymore. We were before COVID. Um, to be honest, man, it was more about opening the bar was more about legacy, if that makes sense.
Makes perfect
Uh,
sense.
and so I'd always heard of like like old cowboy days of like brothers being cowboys together and stuff like that. And so my brother was in a situation that he was tired of. So he got out of that situation, and we wanted to come together and create something that was gonna change where we were. At first, we were just looking for a spot, and then we my brother was like, "Let's just go to Northside," because he had already looked at our building 2 years prior. I think it had been vacant since the last time we looked at it.
Okay.
And our father has a brickyard down the street that I helped him build, and we're like four generation masonry contractors. So from that neighborhood, so it was just super important, man, to come together and create something that like what I love about masonry work um, is that you can literally I can drive you around the city and show you buildings that I helped stack the ladrillos and make the mezcla for my old man
Yeah.
all around the city, and they last forever because it's brick, you know.
Yeah.
Masonry lasts forever, and so it was like it was like a very passionate thing because we were putting things in there that meant so much to us that the normal person going into our bars says, "Oh, that's pretty brick. Oh, that's this. Oh, that's cute,"
Right.
but they didn't know. I grew up chiseling those bricks. Ian grew up stacking those bricks, and you know, um, even the bricks in our wall, they're like 80 to 100 years old, salvage bricks.
So there's a lot of history there.
A lot of history, man. And it was also about giving our bartenders a space to create and be artists.
Right.
And it's kind of funny how you start a bar and then it's like your little baby, and and everything in there to the last detail is so important to you, right? And then it blows up into this thing that's like way bigger than you, and your bartenders start owning it and making it their home, and it's
Yeah.
I
Well,
feel I feel really accomplished because everybody that works there is so happy to work there,
yeah.
and I know that they'll never forget that, and that what we've done will already live forever, you know.
Yeah, I think the part of is what you've said so far is that as a craftsman, doing masonry, you created a space for other craftsmen to
Yeah.
do what they do, right? Because that's what bartending is. It's something that you can't learn from books. Books help, but you learn it by doing. Masonry is the same thing. You can talk, you can read about previous projects and how they came about, but until you start laying brick, you really don't get to learn it.
It's funny that you say that because it's like laying brick and bartending is a lot alike in its ways because you just got to do it to learn it.
And you got to have the passion for the detail
Yeah,
and the things that people don't notice until they really look.
yeah.
It's like people a lot of times you put a cocktail in front of them and they're like, "Oh yeah, this is good," and then halfway through it, they're like, "Damn, this is really good." They realize, how it's developing, and maybe they realize that this is actually sustain how good it is throughout. and they think of, I don't think I've had a cocktail like this before. I've had this cocktail, margarita, old fashioned, Cosmo, whatever it is that they know, but then they realize, well, this is made differently. There's something different about this because, and I think masonry is the same thing. Is people look at walls and they're like, oh, that's pretty, but then in a restaurant, in a bar where you sit next to it, and after a while you start to notice like, oh, these aren't even, but it follows a pattern, or
Yeah.
these aren't the same, but they complement one another.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel like, not to sound too hokey or whatever, but I feel like whenever you're creating something or building something, I feel like you imbue a space with your energy.
absolutely.
And so when we were building out the space, it was a collaborative process, and we wanted to definitely extend that past. We had a lot of goals that kind of been shifted a little bit with Corona, COVID, and all that. But it works like there's a duality of in it or of it. There's a part where we walk in there and we feel very proud, and we have a lot of memories of every single little aspect of it, whether it was us shopping together, looking at paint samples, or us fighting over the finish of the brick and how it was scraped and stuff. Lots of fights. But so there's that part of it, that physical aspect of it, that you walk in and you see it and you remember and you see the imperfections. But there's also that part of it where it's like kind of esoteric, where I feel like I said, you put your energy into it. And I feel like when people come in, whether it's customers or employees, they can feel that and they feed off of that. So, and that's what we want to do, like you just explained with drinks. I feel like that's also very much a thing. When you have a bartender doing production and they're cooking the syrup, this. You're very talented at doing that.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. But sometimes you go in, like you said, you have a drink, you're like, oh, this is great. And you're like, I'm making it up. Say, oh, it's a cinnamon syrup, but you don't really tell them all of the ingredients, the whole process. They don't know that it takes 5 or 6 hours to make that syrup, but we love that, we love that. And, we put life into that, and a lot of love. And I feel like that's what we tried to do, to create a space for that. And we have a lot of big plans, whether they come to fruition in this space at Rabbit's Got the Gun, or maybe the next venue that we build out. But we believe in the collaborative process. It's very, very, very important. You're always going to hear us say, when you come into the bar, family. That's like that. If it came down to one word, that's the mantra, family, always. Both because we're always there with our brothers as well. 2 of our brothers always work with us in the bar in one capacity or another. But that collaborative process is an extension of family. It may not be the whole blood thing, but it's working with other people, whether it's artists that come in and do installations. Nate handles all of that. The artists that come in and bring canvases in. They do installations. They do murals. The bar is covered in that stuff. It's constantly shifting. People come in, they're like, what happened to this piece? Whoa, that's new. But that's the thing. You want to have that dynamic, not transient, but you want to have that evolution constantly happening inside of it, both with the cocktail menu, the art, everything. So
I also see a lot of bars have like the drink curators and cocktail curators that put the menu out, but I feel like that's so lame. One of the things that we've been doing is having like a round table, trying out each other's cocktails, and then kind of choosing, hey man, that's definitely gonna sell, or man, this tastes great, let's put it on the menu. So I think working together, we've actually learned to work together better, and trust each other more. And now we're stepping forward to trust our bartenders to do their jobs and make drinks because they get excited.
You do have a great staff. I mean, every time I see some on social media, on Instagram, and the people that you have there, I'm like, well, damn, like they really have the all-star cast, so to speak. And Ian, you mentioned like it's bringing your energy and kind of being a hokey pokey, and I don't really think so, because I was watching The Last Dance from like Michael Jordan's last season in that Chicago Bulls team. And whenever they start that, they start with like him coming into a team that really wasn't caring very much. And he brought in his energy. And he was there all the time and working harder than everybody and constantly getting better. And then as they started to bring in people, that was the energy. And so eventually, like there was this group of people around him that had to match that energy to be part of that. And being part of that was something very unique. And I definitely believe that that's the case when it comes to bars and restaurants, because I've said for a long time that, you know, you can open any kind of business. You can open a car wash or a washateria or something like that, make money constant, right? It's just the money always comes in, but nothing is more personal. Very few things are as personal as owning a bar or a restaurant.
It's funny that you say that because I was going to mention two things. One, I'll mention the first one because you just said it right now. This is years ago. I was working for a friend of mine here in Houston, managing his restaurant and bar, and we took some of the staff over to Tales of the Cocktail in New Orleans, and I had, you know how you talked about books, you know, books can help, but they don't, you know,
Yeah.
they're tools. And so you can't pick up a hammer and you're a carpenter because you have a hammer in your hand, you know?
Right.
And so I went out and we had hit a point in the bar where volume was very, very high. And we were having trouble maintaining the quality of the drinks and deciding whether we were going to compromise or not. And one of the ways that we were talking about doing that was whether or not we would turn to more efficient draft cocktails. Now that's not common, but it's not unusual. I told you the other day I had the best lines to entry bar that was on draft. It was phenomenal. But back then, you know, I don't know, 7-8 years ago, at least in Houston, it wasn't super readily available. Yeah, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't, and it was controversial because
yes.
the darlings
Oh,
of the industry, didn't think it was kosher. So if they didn't think it was kosher, then everyone was going to talk trash
yes.
about it.
Yes, exactly. And so the powers that be, and we'll do a full circle to that because a lot of people ask the name. Go back to this later. But anyways, I'm there. And back then it was at the Monteleone only, and you'd walk up the stairs. The carousel bar was on the right, and to the left, there's this little room, and they'd always set up the bookstore there. You know, we've been a few years. But I walked by and I looked because I hadn't looked at the schedule of book signers, and Dave Wendridge was there. And I was like, oh, fuck, man. I was like, wow, this is the guru, dude.
Yeah.
Writing guru.
He's a great guy.
Really nice, too. I was completely blown away. I didn't have an expectation, but, you know, big authors, everybody knows they're the daddy of stuff. And I introduced myself and I was like, I just got a question, Dave. I got to ask you a question, man. My service well on the back patio is churning out 6,000 to 7,000, one person, $6,000 to $7,000 of cocktails.
A night?
Saturday or Friday night. Yeah, I only know one person that was capable of doing that. It's my old business partner who was bartending back then at the time, Brad Stringer, and he's an animal, man. He's a beast. He's very good at what he does. Oh my God, there are very few people that can handle that volume and still put out that quality. Anyways, and I was like, man, what are we gonna do? How do we fix this? How do we make this more efficient? And I asked Dave. I said, how do you feel about draft cocktails? I said, how do you feel about them, man? And he goes, tell me about your bar. And I said, well, there's this service well and blah, 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 and this and that. He goes, can people see what's going on there? And I was like, no. I said, kind of not. It's in the corner, kind of tucked away, and all the waitresses go and pick up their drinks there. And he's like, oh, okay. He goes, all right. He goes, so if they're not seeing it, he goes, and I said, you know, if we put it on draft, we would burn through it. So it would not sit there it wouldn't, you know, maybe half a keg would sit there overnight for 12 hours and then we pour it out the next day. I go, how do you feel about it? You know what he said to me? He goes, here's my take on it, Ian. He goes, I don't have a problem with it, but this is how I feel about cocktails. He goes, what do you consume or what do you buy on a regular basis that you can actually go and watch somebody make it in front of you? He goes, think about it. He goes, what is it that you, as a consumer, what do you get that you watch it being made? He goes, for me, he goes, it's nothing else than a cocktail. That's the only thing that I can go in and I can watch and appreciate somebody like you said, crafting it or whatever. So
Yeah.
that's that thing where you're, do we do it like you said? Is there, the controversy? Is it kosher like you said, or is it not? Is it socially acceptable? So that's a big theme in our bar, is challenging the norms. And do we really need to do what everybody else is doing if they
Right.
already did it? They already
Yeah.
did it. Why would you do the same thing?
I'll tell you my take on it. For me, it was a matter of I can have 4 cocktails on draft for speed, right? If someone is telling me, if we're really busy, and it does happen to where sometimes people say, okay, well, can you get me fast, or what should I get? I'm going to immediately tell you the thing that I can make the fastest
Mhm.
when it's 3, 4 deep, because high and dry would get that way when I was
Yeah.
bartending there,
Yep.
and so that was the thing. I would always just bang out whatever was the fastest. If the people ask me, that's what I would suggest. And so in a program, if you have just a small selection of draft, and like as busy as you're saying, like 6 grand, but one
And
bartender,
that was
oh,
one well. There was, I think at peak we had 7 bartenders, and that was just one. It was a service well, and it was like, yeah. So again, you're like, is it okay? I mean, it's like,
yeah, that
and
that
if you're,
time the question was there because, like I said, it was especially in here in the city, the darlings of the industry were not for it, and so they everyone followed that, and everyone talked about that, and so everything else was cheating, and now
yeah,
they're
now
actually
everybody has vodka in their wells, and they're not ashamed of it. Now it's
exactly
okay.
exactly, and so for me it was just a matter of like, look, I got these few cocktails that I can do real fast, and it was about the presentation of it, but because we're craftsmen, what I like to teach my bartenders is it's your movement. It's how you present yourself to people. It's how you're doing 2 things at the same time,
Mhm.
shaking and stirring, or reaching for garnishes and opposite ends and doing it with both hands. And I think that's where the beauty is. And so a lot of times people get caught up on the garnishing or actually making the cocktail right here in front of you, but it takes everything else, because you're going to have to go reach for the vermouth. You're going to have to go and reach for a bottle that's not right behind you, right in front of you. So how you dance around is part of that presentation that he was talking about. Because I agree. I mean, to me, presentations, the flair is not just tossing bottles. The flair is how you present yourself.
Yeah,
And
it's the whole entire process. And
which
that's why, there's that whole thing about like, oh, this guy's got a bow tie and an apron. It's like, well, no, it's like the person takes pride in what they're doing. You know what
yeah,
I mean? It's like
yeah,
you should take pride in that. The way that you take care of yourself is the
right.
way that you is the same thing that you're going to put into the drinks and your service, your
The
hospitality.
same way as those guys with the bow tie and aprons and vest were rude and stuck up, and it went all the
It can be
way.
the other way as well. It
Yeah,
can. It can be
exactly.
the
it
other
it
way.
it,
Yeah.
it banged out the entire spectrum. And one of the things about your bar that I thought was really cool, how you use the space, I thought was really intelligent, because you have the soft serve, you have the espresso machine.
That's actually my brother's thing. So my brother's a huge fan of Christina Tose's milk bar. So
Yeah,
he and who doesn't like ice cream, man? And we're in Texas. Who doesn't like frozen drinks and ice cream? It's hot as
yeah.
fucking fly. You're dying, and everybody wants to sit on the patio. And so he was like, "Man, I would really like to open something like an ice cream shop." And we talked about it, and we bought 99% of our equipment from auction, and actually a lot, even furnishing. Sometimes you'll see things you won't know, little things that we get in auction. He likes to go to. He has a friend that's out of town that she has this huge antique auction. It's really wild. You can get anything from glassware to furniture to art and everything. Anyways, off subject. We're looking at auctions late at night. One night, we started at the beginning of build out. And I'm going through, and you find random shit on auction. There's things you never even knew existed, like things on stuffing sausages, shit like that, weird stuff. And so we're going through, and I see an ice cream machine. I was like, oh, this is an ice cream machine. He goes, buy it. And I was like, really? He's like, yeah, it's what you bid on it. You're bidding $150. So I think we got the machine for like $300. And we
Okay.
just picked it up and we, put it in storage again, and we're building everything out and laying it all out.
It's like a $3,000 machine.
Actually, it's more than that. I looked it up. It's more. I think it's more like, it's old. So you would pay 3,000, but when it was new, I think you paid like upwards of half. Like 5, 6, I think.
Wow.
Anyways, yeah,
the ice cream was delicious.
good. Yeah, that was the whole point. Remember how we're talking about the norms and what other people would do. We
Right.
knew that, as far as we know, there was nobody in Houston doing that. Like, why would, come on, man, everybody uses cream and dairy in their drinks, uh, Brandy Alexander's, grasshoppers, mudslides, whatever, go on and on, White Russians.
I do see a lot of concepts doing that shit now. I do see
That's all it takes, man. You got to break that seal, and then all the naysayers all of a sudden are jumping on it.
even the bow tie dudes are doing it. Another thing off subject that I wanted to bring up too is like, shit. We did our bar with no investors, so we don't know anybody but each other, and that's another special thing about our bars. We don't have some dude fucking pulling up, treating us like shit because he's a money guy,
or pushing for profits before it's time.
And so the reason I'm saying this is because I'm not sure if we're the first, but I'm thinking we're the first Hispanic brothers to open a bar in Houston together. I'm not that old, so I wouldn't know.
Cocktail bar, yeah.
Cocktail bar, and so even our brothers over at Monkey's Tail.
Yeah, Greg.
And it's a cool vibe where we're at because it's Latinos,
yeah,
right? And you're starting to see a lot of Latino flavor in the cocktails, right? Because I feel like nobody wanted that in cocktails 5 years ago. Not true.
It's just nobody was doing it right, because it was always, it's like the Austin tacos, right? I mean, yeah, they're good tacos, but they're not like the Houston tacos.
There you go.
You got the abuelita making it over here.
Yeah.
And it's just, so it's different. The minute you have it, it's authentic, because it's unique, and they're flavor combinations that you're familiar with, but they're unusual to you if you're not from Mexico, if you're not from the particular region also that the tacos are from. And I think that here it was a matter that people were scared. There's always, and you probably have been in these conversations to where people start to question. It's like, well, I don't know. I mean, can we do a cocktail with matza, or can we do these flavors, or ancho? Before the William and Grant came out with Ancho Reyes, should we spend the time making this syrup? And you have all those questions. Are people going to like it? Well, you just have to do it, and then people are going to decide. But the fact of the matter is that it could be too early, but also a while back, what was happening is people wanted to do pepper syrups and infusions, and it was so savory that's not where the palate was. And you're right, because it follows the sequence to where it's like sweet, and then it gets herbal, and then it goes bitter, and it's actually a cycle that happens with people's palate. And that would have been too early, but I think it's just the way you present it, the way you do it. Because I was doing stuff at Lucille's, it was the first program that I did.
Okay.
And I was doing my own syrups, and with I had a coffee syrup that I was making, so I was kind of playing around with the idea of café de olla, and people were loving it. But it was there, right? And maybe I didn't sell that many, but I was doing all the work myself on the side, and the chef wasn't really interfering, so it didn't really matter. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times it's what you're saying, where the general manager, one of the owners, or an investor starts to say, well, this is not moving, so we shouldn't have it. And it's like, look, I'm making 4 ounces of it at a time. It's not taking any extra time. And when people have it, it's a unique experience. So it's worth doing, if the person wants to do it. And I think that's the one of those factors for craftsmen. like you're saying, like letting the bartenders take over. It's sometimes like, okay, you want to do this thing. If it's high quality, if it's good, then you can do it, right? And good is not necessarily that I like it. The good is that it's balanced.
Mm.
And I feel whenever you play it that way, suddenly you have options that come out of that that are unique to your place.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the importance of what you're doing is it's huge in my opinion, because what's happening in the north side is what I was hoping that would happen in the east end.
Mm.
But it's not. There's too much money dropped in here, and so it's big money that you have to fight against. Not that it
Yeah.
can't be done. It's just that what you're doing is actually prescient. It's ahead. You're ahead of the curve in a way, because it hasn't gotten too expensive around that area, and so you're able to do this thing that is rooted in family, in craftsmanship, and in the life of the neighborhood.
So we're also working on opening another spot around the corner from our spot, and it's gonna be more than likely it'll be Umbrella Fellas or Brick and Mortar,
Okay.
or our buddy Cheeto with the
Yeah.
Burger King Dogs, and some beer and wine, and a dive bar attached to it. So that's something that we're working on right now. Me myself, I'll be possibly opening up a bar in Galveston as well. So we're working on some things, but a lot of people will come and they'll throw offers at us. They'll be like, "Hey man, I've got $1 million. Let's do this, do that." And sometimes I feel like uh, not even to sound cocky, but sometimes I feel like, man, do I really want to give these guys my flavor? Do I want to give them the sauce that we've created together? And is it all about money at the end of the day? You know?
Partnerships are like marriage.
Yeah,
You get married to the right person,
yeah,
sky's the limit.
yeah.
You
I
know.
like to think of us as swingers, but
Yeah.
no, seriously though, this is what I think about that process and how important it is when he says that we're self-funded. What that means is we didn't open up overnight a $2.5 million, 5-story, blah blah blah. Um, you start small and you grow it, but because of that, it also changes the way that it evolves and what it becomes. It's organic and it's growing, is what I'm saying. So you're going to go in and see things. So what happens is the inside got built out immediately, and then we were going to build a small bar in the back room, and because of COVID and people wanting to sit outside, we focused our energy on the back patio, right?
Sure.
But again, because of us self-funding it, it means that we do it steps at a time instead of having the whole thing done immediately. We didn't hire an interior designer to come in and we did it all and opened up and we're like, dun dun. It's more like, okay, what's the next thing that we're going to focus our energy and our finances on? What we'll budget out, we'll look at what we're going to do in phases. And because of that, it forces us to slow down and think about what we're doing. And it also allows us to collaborate with other people. Like you said, slowly bringing those people in. We have an artist that we've been working with that lives on the north side. His name's actually, I call him Helsink. His name's actually Gelson. I call him Helsink, like a vampire slayer. I just think of him like that. Like he's a little bit mythical when he works. And you can come into the bar and see the back patio. And he actually did a full installation. It's a lot more than a mural. It's actually an experience when you go back there. It's a different vibe. But again, because we didn't have $1 million, investors and all of that, and because we spaced it out and because, we take it in phases, it allows us to have people come in. We can talk to them and we can feel them out, and not just people like you said that are throwing money at you, but people that really give a fuck about what they're doing, like they really care, and that they really believe in what we're doing, and that that our brands are on the same level. And that's why Nathan is talking about the potential of collaborating with Cheeto from Umbrella Fellas. We've been working with him since we opened up, man. He used to do pop-ups. He helped consult on our food truck, Lobos Tacos.
Yeah.
And now Nathan just wants to help him bring his stuff to the table.
And the beautiful thing about our brother Helsing and Cheeto is they're from the hood, man.
Yeah.
They're from where we're from, where we riding bikes down the same streets, getting beat up in the same streets. It's different back then,
Well, when it comes to like investors, I think a lot of especially guys like you that starting off from scratch, doing it yourself. Like I think it's really smart what you're doing, because essentially, if you look at Amazon didn't turn a profit for like 15 years, maybe even longer, right? That guy was thinking long term, and investors have to believe in it. If you believe in it, then you're an investor. If you don't, then you're not. And I think that's whenever you take that view that is long term, that then all of a sudden you're not looking for that profit right now. A lot of people fall into that pit of thinking is like, oh shit, people are throwing money at me, I'm gonna do this, and then they open 5 restaurants, and 2 years later end up shutting them down. Like happened in the Heights. That shit was just people started throwing money, and they're like, I made it. And it's like you got to make it every day. So I think whenever you have that approach to where you're doing it yourself, and then you're growing, and as you're ready for the next step, then you move, is whenever you're ready, not whenever they're ready, right?
Yeah.
That's one. The other one is because I think that whenever you do the work yourself, you by the time you open, you know what the flow of your place is. Unlike places like Ian said, to where they bring in a designer, the designer does everything, right? It's a beautiful space, it's just amazing. But whenever you walk in, you don't know what the life of it is. You know what the flow of it is, because it's not yours. Somebody else came in and did it. And so there are benefits to both, depending on where the market is. But I think whenever you do it yourself, especially starting like this, is just what it's about. You know what it's offering. So you know how to treat people as they come in, because it's just different. You don't approach everybody the same at the same time. It's different. And so a Tuesday is not the same as a Saturday night, as it is, in the back patio, as it is in the front bar, because especially whenever you've done volume and you've done craft, like you get this balance of knowing that the way I bang out drinks when I'm putting out 3 to 6 grand is not the same as whenever I got, let's say, 3 couples sitting at the bar and we're all chatting and I'm making special things for them. Oh, okay, you had that, let's go to the next thing. So what is it that you liked about that? Okay, let me make you this.
Yeah.
And
As
I
a
think
bartender, we all love that personal experience. As a business owner, you're like, thank God for Fridays and Saturdays, but you got to
absolutely. Absolutely. But I'm saying that's part of the flow of your place, that it. The day that you open, you probably had a good feel what the place was. As nervous as you may have been of whether people are going to get it or not, the minute they start talking about something, you know what it is, because you put it there.
Yeah.
And you put it with a reason. And if they're talking about it and it sounds like that reason, then you're like, they got it. Cool. All right, let's move on to the next thing.
And reason we put things where we put them too is for the system. So what I've learned, like really recently, is that you create your system within your bar, and
Right.
then it just flows, And so that's
Okay.
another cool thing about designing your own space.
So yeah, I have a few questions about that, and I think we got about a few more minutes. So whenever I was there and I was looking at it, and on one side, so you have the frozen machine, you have the soft serve, you have the espresso machine, and
Mhm.
you have the display, like beer cooler,
Mhm.
and you have a vertical reach-in on
So
there.
it's actually a freezer that was put there um, because I felt like I wanted to give the bartenders everything that they needed to work
Ex-
all of it.
exactly, and that's what I was saying. When I was looking around at the setup, I was like, this is one of the most intelligent setups I've seen, because you're using, it's not a big bar, but you're using everything right in that, what do you say, about 12 feet or 10
Yeah,
feet
yeah,
space.
yeah.
There's a freezer, there's an espresso machine, there's a soft serve, there's frozen, there's beer, there's a back bar. I mean, that's like ideal, basically. And then on the far wall, you have some more liquor set up. And so I think that it's a really, really smart way of giving the bartenders everything that they need without having to make them walk too far.
There's one right in there. Yeah.
So how that was just the function of the space?
Well, not really. I kind of let Ian design the whole bar, man. I told him, I said, I'll design everything that's not in the back of the bar. But I told him, I said, make your dream fucking bar layout with the wells. I said, if you had, because I'm like a big believer in like doing it once,
Yeah.
you know. And it's funny because we're actually about to change. We're about to reorganize that a third well, but we didn't contemplate that in the beginning. But I told Ian, I said, dude, build the best fucking back bar you can build for comfort for y'all. Because I've seen him at other places that he worked at, and it's like crotch to ass when you're passing somebody, you barely have space. I said, man, do your thing. And
But also as a him saying that to me, the difference between us doing it and other people doing it is my brother's a contractor. He's been doing this for decades, literally, well, okay, over a decade, call it over a decade. And because we're working so closely again, because we're brothers and we can say whatever we need to say to each other and not get our feelings hurt,
Right.
we were able to work very closely together and fix those things. A lot of the time, if you're open already and you're looking back, and you're like, oh shit, we should have done this. Then you don't have the luxury of shutting your business down to redo everything. Also, sometimes budget is an issue, and so we were more we because my brother's a contractor, we were able to you know it, we were able to control things.
Right. Right.
And so that enabled us. There were a lot of spaces. What I'm saying is there are a lot of places I've been into in the 27 years I've worked in the business, where you walk and you're like, oh man, this is fucked. This is, who designed this? Like, why would they have put this pole right in the middle here? Um, and so because of because of our individual talents and skills and everything, we were able to. I feel like we're able to, people come into the bar and like, this is awesome. Bartenders come in, they're like, holy shit, this is great. I love the amount of space. I love the way you laid it out. There's a little bit more to it. Also, like having an espresso machine and the way that the bar's lit. We were looking at growth from the beginning. We planned on opening up daytime and for lunch and for dinner.
Yeah.
That's also part of the reason why things are laid out, and we have espresso and we have ice cream and everything. So.
No, I love having an espresso machine. I mean, I absolutely love it. And
we saved about $100 a week on that.
My brother's like, we're gonna have espresso because you spend $15 to $20 a day on coffee. And I was like, all right,
Yeah.
cool, I'll take an espresso machine.
Yeah. And so you save money just by the mere fact that you're not going out to buy it.
No, seriously, during build out, we're spending $300 a week on coffee.
Yeah. Well, also because there was nothing in the neighborhood.
Yeah, there isn't.
Now Canary just opened up. Canary opened up.
Canary?
It's not right by us. It's actually couple of blocks from Monkey's Tail.
Yeah.
And so technically we're like in the same neighborhood kind of, but we're not. They're on 610, we're on 910. It's a little bit of a drive.
Yeah, I'm telling you, like the coffee game. If you need to up the coffee game, just we'll talk offline. Because I got Chella down the street, and those guys are doing a great job. And the thing is there's really good coffee in Houston, but you're right. There are some coffee deserts, areas, and you guys being able to do a good job would be fantastic around there, because it's hard to not, once you get to that point. Like I near me, there's Toot Sweet, there's Cella, and then there's Coral Sword. So I got 3 choices.
Got options, man. You've got more than that. You've got Logan's Place. What's it called in that community workspace? The space. It's
Bohemios?
No, it's in that white building over there in
yeah, on Canal. Yeah,
on Canal.
Yeah,
you've got him, and then you've got the new guy that comes in our bar. Oso's getting ready to open.
Up.
Yeah.
So he's doing.
Yeah, he's cool.
I like what that guy's doing, man.
He's on navigation, right?
Yeah.
He's pretty legit though. Like,
okay.
Just talking to him, I'm like, wow, man, you're really passionate about coffee,
Okay. Well, you see, and that's the thing. And so I got options. It's difficult to I drink, definitely at home, but whenever I go out, it's like I got to go to one of those spots. And you're right, it's $4 or $5 easily for the coffee, and you feel like you're getting your money's worth, not just because of the coffee, the coffee quality, but also the presentation, the way that they put it together. Because coffee is pretty simple. It's milk, like a flat white. It's milk and espresso, but it's actually balancing them that's takes the talent. Because when you change the coffee, or whenever your machine is already put out 30, 40 shots, or depending on the time of day and the humidity and all that kind of stuff, it changes, and it's really slight. But the person that knows how to just adapt it within 1 second of that pull, and how you put them together, it makes all the difference in the world.
Do you remember Rico's? It's now a bar called Main Street Tap and Grill, but
I don't.
Used to be a Mexican restaurant called Rico's Mexican
Triangle.
Rico's Triangle Mexican Restaurant, right?
Okay.
And this was when good coffee was 50 cents, right?
Yeah.
So
it was horrible coffee, but
yeah,
I remember
it wasn't burnt.
Shit.
So
you froze
it was
there.
A diner style restaurant.
Okay.
So it was a diner style restaurant, Mexican restaurant. And they had this big long bar, like fucking 30-foot long, right?
Yeah.
And right there was like a hub of contractors. And every day after work, I'd go in there with my old man. And whoever cashed the check that day at the corner store would buy the whole fucking restaurant coffees, right? Because they were like 50 cents. So instead of drinking, all the old schools would just be in there drinking their coffee,
Our dad was one of those. He sat there. Yeah, I would go in there 2 or 3 times a day sometimes. Yeah.
I used to go to Fiesta.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
The one on Hillcroft.
Okay.
And you have old timers sit there, because they used to have in front of the bakery. They used to have like tables and chairs and whatnot, and you would sit there, and it was like all the old timers, like they were in the old country, drinking their coffee at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, for sure, man. You're from Puerto Rico, right?
Yeah.
So I went to Culebra. I went out to Culebra, and
beautiful.
I was waking up at like 5 a.m. Riding my golf cart.
That's what I say. I don't wake up early unless I'm in Puerto Rico naturally. Like that's it. It's by 8 o'clock I'm up and ready to go, because when you look out the window, you're like, what am I doing in here?
Yeah, but coffee's so big, bro. I was eating breakfast with like all the workers,
Yeah.
And everybody, believe it or not, have a hot dog and a cup of coffee and be getting ready to go to work. And I enjoyed just soaking up that culture. Y'all got real good coffee out there, man.
What's the bulletproof coffee? The one with the butter and all that?
Yeah. The one that's the stuff that the CrossFitters are doing now.
Yeah, well, that's bullshit, because we've been doing that for forever.
You're like, you took that shit.
You took that from us. We take here's a snack, even for like teenagers. Like, here was one of our snacks. It was café con leche, coffee and milk with French bread with a thick uh, thing of butter, like spread of butter, and then you dip it in that coffee where like you see the grease just float on it, and then you drink that coffee afterwards
good.
as you take a bite and you're drinking. Man, that was again like that was like an afternoon or evening snack, and
Yeah.
and so I know what you're saying. And now they're a friend of mine was there recently. I think he's in St. Thomas, and he goes to Puerto Rico regularly. And he sent me a thing on a craft coffee roaster out there. And I'm like, oh shit! Now they're getting crafty because in Jauco, that's where they grow the coffee, and it's always been good because it's fresh. It's
Mhm.
so it doesn't travel very far. The problem is that it's expensive because in Puerto Rico everything is dollars, so
Yeah.
nothing is cheap. Everything is imported, so it's not as cheap as I would want it to be there locally. Up to a point, it- it's cheaper, but yeah, man, I'm looking forward to trying the new stuff and trying to bring it over here. But it's yeah, you're right. I mean, coffee culture in Latin America, in in Puerto Rico, like you're saying, it's like everybody drinks it, even the kids. They get a little bit.
Yeah.
Go run around, burn it, and then come back and take a nap.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Culebra is beautiful.
Oh man, I love it, dude.
Yeah, um, I'm excited for you guys. I look forward to the stuff that you guys are doing. Tell me your address.
708 Hogan. We're on the corner of Main Street and Hogan, just north of University of Houston downtown.
Okay, all
Right
right,
next to the tire shop.
Right
right
in
next to
between the tire shop and the fire station. Hey, when are
man.
you going to come in and do a pop up? When are you going to do a little pop up, David?
That'd be cool. Let's talk about it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure, man. We'd love to have you in there, man.
And we're about to do Milagro on Hogan.
yeah.
So we're doing a Christmas event.
Uh
We're
huh.
about to do that. Kind of like a twist on Miracle, but the north side.
Oh,
Yeah,
I look forward to that.
yeah. We
Yeah.
really wanted to just do like a Mexican, theme. Christmas is such a big thing for us, and our culture and everything. And it's not just, it's more than just one night. And so we're like, man, let's decorate and let's do this.
So it's gonna run through January. Reyes
All
Ma-
the way through December. It'll be from December the 1st straight through to
What
December
about the
the
Tres Reyes Mago?
31st. Well,
We'll
okay,
talk.
come and talk.
We'll
We'll
talk.
talk. We'll talk. I was like,
Yeah. Like I said, I think your setup is really intelligent. The staff that you've been able to attract is really, truly, well, I think some of the most talented in the city because of the fact that they're all. I've seen them done programs and I've seen them done volume.
yeah,
And man, when you get that combo, you're truly the craftsman at that point. And so, same thing. The tire shop confused the shit out of me. I wasn't sure what I was getting myself into as I was walking past those patio tables, but no, man, it was cool. And so you have the taco truck out there too,
yeah.
right?
7 days a week, open to close. As long as the bar is open, we have tacos, burgers, tortas, quesadillas, everything on the truck. So
Awesome.
full menu, full food menu. Yeah.
Okay. All right, man. Guys, I really appreciate you being on the show. I love what you're doing, and you just keep that flavor.
Thank you, brother.
Appreciate it.
All right. Take care.
All right, we'll talk soon.